Hey, it's Tess. I thought I'd go live and talk a little bit more about this book called U Squared. And this book, U Squared, is about quantum leaps. And agree or disagree, and it's okay either way, I kind of don't think of the items in this book as quantum leaps. It may be quantum leaps for those of us that don't take chances in life, but I think if you start living life with the power of pursuit, or with the idea that you don't want to stay stationary, it's almost the natural path. It's not, you can take tiny steps or you can take a little bit bigger steps. And I guess the idea of this book is to take the bigger steps, to stop micromanaging and start taking larger steps. And I thought it was interesting. I found a couple of quotes, so I will share those. I see some messages coming in on my phone. Hopefully they don't make noise. But the first thing it talks about is kind of the idea of reactive and proactive, passive versus active. Those are all words that we're familiar with in our everyday lives. And I always think about the second insurance company I worked for, because in my career I worked for four different insurance companies, and a healthcare system and risk management, which was the self-insured portion. Trinity Health self-insured in the Cayman Islands, and I did the work that was to sending it down to the Caymans. But so I've been involved in 5 insurance companies in my career, and what's kind of interesting is that the idea of passive versus active, or proactive versus reactive. I even think about like insurance. Insurance is a proactive tool. It's a tool to plan that in case something happens. And the second job I worked at, the owner was a visionary. He was he had amazing ideas, kind of like Chris Noggle is, and both of them had the name Chris, as a matter of fact. But he was a visionary, and I used to always joke that I had to be able to walk fast enough to catch his fires before they got too big, because inevitably he'd be tossing things over his shoulder, and trying to catch up was sometimes difficult because he could be 3 states ahead of you if you gave him too much time. And I have to look him up. It's been a while since I saw him, but he was a visionary, and because he was a visionary, he was so far ahead that he missed the stuff. He would just have to toss things and you'd catch him and keep moving with them. But it was kind of an interesting thing, and it was a good learning ground, and I actually enjoyed being around him because I enjoyed the mind. But it talks about this idea of proactive versus reactive, passive versus active. And I think about life. In times in my life when I was passive, it didn't feel magical. It didn't feel productive. I'm not saying that moving forward feels good all the time, but for me, moving forward feels better than idle. I don't like idle. I like to feel like I'm learning something, I'm seeing something, I'm visiting something, I'm doing some kind of growth in some way. And I ran across a couple of quotes, and I'll start with this first. There were 2 by Antoine Rivarol. Antoine, Rivarol, Rivarol. But he was a gentleman from probably like back in the early, like, it looks like 1500s. And these quotes are really cool. They kind of remind me, actually, even prior days to say like Albert Einstein. But I liked his things because they still apply to today. And one of his quotes was, "Opinions, theories, and systems pass by turns over the grindstone of time, which at first gives them brilliance and sharpness, but finally wears them out." And I was thinking about things in life. The idea that we attach to things. Well, hi, Ruth. Good to see you. I see someone else on. I don't know who it is, but thank you for being here. And if I've missed anyone, thank you for being here. But this idea of like this gentleman was like from, I'm going to say it was 1500s. And the idea that he was talking about opinions and theories and systems, they pass over the grindstone. They become less useful over time. Their brilliance and their sharpness wears out over time. And I think that's so much of our lives. Sometimes we get bad information, so it's good that it wears out. Sometimes the information is just not pertinent anymore, so we have to evolve and develop with it. And that's kind of what I did. I often talk about that I have been a financial person in the insurance industry for over 30 years. And in my time in that career, I touched a lot of different areas because that's the kind of person I am. I actually was an underwriter for a couple of years, and I always helped in projects like mergers and acquisitions, stuff like that. I'd be on the team that would go south and kind of internalize things. But I got to experience a lot of things, and it made it really interesting to me. But what it taught me is, like, even I was talking to somebody today about, like, the idea, one of the things that are the obstacles that I ran across when I was in my career is that when I was involved in mergers and acquisitions, I can remember going to these places where we were internalizing information or bringing files home, or unfortunately, you know, they were interviewing employees to see if they wanted to bring them up to system, you know, the new system office. And we were internalizing companies that were 2/3 our original size. And the thing that I realized, and I was talking to somebody about today, is getting stuck in a pattern or thinking that your way is the only way. And it cost people their jobs. And I saw it cost them their jobs as I was going through this process. I can remember, like, reinsurance is big. Reinsurance is pretty complex, and it's a very large portion. You know, it's a big portion, just like reserves are a big portion on an insurance company balance sheet. I mean, it's an area that they look at audit because they want to make sure you're following up to get those reinsurance monies back in, because there's always, like, reinsurance payables on the books, and they can get large if you don't monitor them. But what I remember is that there were a couple of times that people get stuck. Like, I have this system, and it's an amazing system, and you need to help me convince the guys in home office that they need to use our system, not their system. And I'd sit back and go, do you understand that you are the one that's being incorporated in? Now, your best bet is to come in, show them that you're going to be a team player, dig into the system, help where you can, and if it fails, then maybe your idea can help them move on. But if they've already spent, and in every case, it was like we had just bought this new system and when you would buy a new system in my industry, it would be like 2 to 4 years before it was fully implemented, because they develop each module separately, specific to your business. And they'd be like, do you guys not understand that the best thing you can do is to go in and show them what you've got, and then be a part of the team that maybe tries to change things later. But don't sit back on your chair and go, I'm not going with you unless you do it my way, because guess what? They'll leave you sitting in your chair and go move forward, because you've just become a problem, and a problem they don't want to deal with. And I was talking to somebody about that today, and unfortunately I saw that more than once, and it would be like, please, if you want a job, they're looking at an organization of 300 people. They're internalizing it into a system office. They're looking for synergies. They're looking for, you know, pulling these things in. You have to understand that you are on the piece that's being eaten. And if you want to continue with it, you've got to be open to what this side is. You're not going to come in and tell all these people how to do it. You have to come in, be a part of the team, and then maybe show what you know down the road, but you don't get to dictate from day one. And so many people tried to do that, and it was really sad. It hurt my heart when I saw it happening, but I couldn't help them because that was where they were at. But it made me learn, and I learned a lot from that and watching that, because we get stuck in what we think we know. And because we think we know something, we won't be open to new ideas. And I talk about, and I'll show it again, and I'll just briefly, if anybody wants to learn more about this, please reach out to me. I'd be happy to help you. But this idea of the infinite banking concept, for me, I had to open up to something. I worked in an insurance industry. This thing came up, and I thought it had to be a scam. And I'm grateful that I didn't attached to that, because if I had attached to that, I would have missed out on an opportunity to take control of my personal finances. But I had to step back, because there was a part of me that's like, this absolutely cannot be true, because if it was true, I would know about it. And it kind of like made me mad that I didn't know about it. But it also taught me that there's a lot of things in this life that we think we know that probably aren't true. So it's the best gift you can give yourself is to challenge it, whether it's the way you're operating your personal financing system, which I had to learn, or whether you're that person in a company that's being internalized. And I think we might see some of that in the coming years, because if as the way the economy's going, as it goes down, people start gobbling up, and you'll go through another period of time like that, where things are being gobbled up and everybody's internalizing things. And I lived through that the last time. It was part of where they were pulling them together. And if that happens, you have to be open to learning a different way. You know, whether we like it or not, there are things in life, AI, there are days that we did things on typewriters. Then it went to computers and computer labs. Then we had computers on our desks, and now it's AI is creating for us, and people are actually telling AI to create my clone to help me get my work done faster. So you either decide to best use the tools that are available, or you get lost in the shuffle. And the choice is yours. Are you going to have the power of pursuit, or are you going to hand it over to someone else? And it's a choice. It's back to the one quote that I'll never forget from the very first mastermind I ever went to. If you don't pursue your dreams, you're going to help somebody else pursue their dreams. So what choice is it? What do you want to do? And it's a hard lesson. It's a hard thing to do. But it says, you've dreamed many dreams that were yours for the taking, but did you pursue them? Or did you sit back and expect them to happen for you? Most people confuse wishing and wanting with pursuing. It's even the idea of vision boards. I have vision boards. I actually have a hot seat right here on my door, and it was something that was done for me when I was in Sundance. Why do I have it there? I don't think that by looking at it, it's going to happen. I think that by looking at it, it's going to remind me that I need to take action to make it happen. And have I been doing that? Yes. And I can almost go okay, I've done this in this, because there's 4 buckets up there that are funneling down. And yep, I've done something towards that bucket, towards that bucket, towards that bucket. And so mentioned this, and this is towards the other bucket. So the idea is that I think a vision board may be a visual of where you're headed, but it doesn't happen without action. And that's that pursuit, that power of pursuit. Because if you don't pursue it, it never comes together. And, we would all like to believe that we can close our eyes and dream it into an existence. But there does take steps to make it come together. And our thoughts are a lot about it and very powerful. So you want to watch your thoughts very well. It talks about the simple secret is the seeking. The simple secret is in seeking. Another quote here that I really like is by the Saint Antoine Riveriel. I can't even talk today, but it's the dim haze of mystery that adds enchantment to the pursuit. So it's something that you can either look at it as this huge, massive challenge, or you can look at it as something that you're grateful that you can pursue. And for me, I'm always grateful to pursue it, because I had a number of years of medical conditions where even if I wanted to pursue things, I just didn't have the energy. And I was always working 2 jobs. I always worked 2 jobs. Always for as long as I can remember. So even though I didn't have much energy, I was still trying to push it, and I was still trying to find different directions. It's just that I didn't know how to do it then. So I always thought that I would get further ahead by working 2 jobs. I didn't work, as my friend Steven, who was riding by our sides when we were doing the Make-A-Wish 300-mile bike ride, I wasn't working smarter, I was working harder. And it took me until I started attending masterminds that I started to understand how to work smarter instead of harder. So that'll be something I should talk about one day too. Work smarter, not harder. And for me, attending the masterminds and meeting people that are doing things differently was the working smarter instead of the harder. So it says, consider this, the dreams you have realized in life are those which you actively sought. And I can say for me, that's true. I actively sought them. The bike ride. Yep, I signed up for a 300-mile bike ride. I only had 3 months to get ready. I bought the bike and I practiced. And was it one of the hardest things I've ever done? It absolutely was. But I did it. But I had to take action. I couldn't have sat home and looked at a poster board that said 300-mile bike ride and not ever got on a bike and have made it happen. I talk often about scuba diving. I took a scuba diving class. I was too weak of a swimmer. I swam 100 laps a day for 2 weeks before the test, and I beat every girl in class and 5 guys. Why? It wasn't because I put it on a board. It was because I took action. You have to take pursuit to make it come to fruit. Ooh. You have to take pursuit to make it come to fruit. Okay, I'm being silly, sorry. But it talks about pursuit is what makes the difference. Wishing, longing, wanting, desiring. These are not the same as pursuing. Longing is just not enough. Quantum leaps require you to take the offensive. And I think, honestly, we call it quantum, we call it U squared. And if that helps you to take steps, by all means use those words. But it's simply in taking action, and taking action faster, making decisions and moving faster. I used to try to put together these crazy long plans. Never understanding or identifying. I wasn't identifying the fact that something could change that plan 2 or 3 steps down the road and derail me. So putting together these elaborate plans, knowing the goal long term was a good idea, but having elaborate each step of the way was not the best idea, because what if a road went under construction or a detour happened? I was so rigid on a plan that I would have to replan again, and I wasn't agile enough to be able to keep moving forward. Reaching for your dream is behaving, moving, and it shortens the distance between you and your desired objective. You want to take the offensive, and you want to seek, knock, and make the dream become yours. And I thought this was such a cool thing, because even so much of my life, I often talk about, there were a number of years where I was battling some illnesses and I was trying to figure out the ways to move forward, and it just wasn't happening at the pace I want. But in the past 10 years, things have changed because my approach has changed. I changed the way I thought. The thoughts in, I do affirmations and meditations and journaling every day, because I know I had a lot of I ruminated a lot about everything I thought could go wrong, because I had a theory earlier in my life, and I still have to be careful I don't fall into it, that if you expect the worst, if you get something better, you feel good. And then it was like, oh, I got something better. If it was a little bit better, it was a win. What I didn't understand is that I threw away all the possibilities that were so much higher, because my energy or my vibration or my thought patterns were so far low that I wasn't able to reach high. And the things I've done in the past 5 years, I've recently been counted up and added. I've attended 22 events and met people that are the family of choice that have helped me to see life in a lot of different ways. It's this crew that I was around that actually challenged me to the book that I have released, and I don't think I've shown that. Yeah, I did show this. The book that I released in early February. And it's kind of cool, because my friend that helped me with the editing and the illustration, she's issuing books now too, but hers are all on nutrition, and she's got one on gut health that's being worked on right now, because a lot of her, she has an autistic son, and a lot of what she does, she's a manager in nutrition in Canada. And so she studied all nutrition and holistic health, and that's how she helps her son with symptoms, is, helps him to manage, is through food and diet, and she's actually writing books now. So I'm really excited about that. But it takes doing things differently, and we talk about that a lot. It means, if you need to call it a quantum, a U squared, a quantum leap, call it whatever it takes to make you get up off your butt and do something to take a step in that direction. Like I said, I have a hot seat here on my door. I walk by it every day. I look at it and I go, hey, okay, I'm doing something in this bucket, something in this bucket. I need to think about this bucket. What am I going to do? And I'm moving forward. I don't think that the things are going to happen because I look at it every day. I think that because I look at it every day, I'm going to take a step towards getting it completed. So you got to be careful on how you spin that, because you want to make it work for you. The last quote that I thought was so cute, Oscar Wilde, so that I ought to tell you this is a juicy one. He talks about some people cause happiness wherever they go, and some people cause happiness whenever they go. So let's be the ones that cause happiness wherever we go, and keep our energy high and our actions towards the pursuit of something greater in life. I think there's unlimited opportunities for all of us, and I want to see us all reach those. I shared with a friend that I talked to a little while ago, and I was sharing with her that my new theory on life. I went to the table for bariatric surgery hoping to get 10 years of life. I thought if I could get 10 years off the bench, if I got called home, at least I got 10 years of what I thought was a life worth living. And now Doc V challenged me and said, why is 10 years enough? And now I say, it isn't enough. I'm unlimited. I'm going for it all. And my new rule is I am going to be running so fast that the Green Reaper is 50 miles behind me on a hoverboard, huffing and puffing. And when it's my time to come home, I'm going to be sliding in. God's going to give me a high five, and he's going to say, you may have been a late starter, but an amazing job. And she was laughing, and I'm like, I'll share that with everybody. I want for all of us to be running like mad, and we're being pulled in. Everybody else is so far behind us. We're sliding in, high five from God, and him telling us we did an amazing job. I have that desire and that wish for myself. And for those of you that want to reach for more, that is my prayer and my dream for you as well. Let's go out there and reach for the stars. and let's change our stars. Let's change what the future looks like. We have that opportunity. And if you want it, that's your right to go for it. And I will be there cheering for you as you do. Thank you guys for being here. Have a beautiful night. Have an amazing weekend. Make it count. And look for the sunrise, look for the stars, look for the bunnies, look for the things that bring you energy and make you feel good. Somebody recently said to me, and I don't know if it's true or not, but give this a try. They were saying based on sun signs and astrology, they were saying like if it's air, earth, fire, or water. If you know like your sun sign, like I'm a Gemini, so they say that's air. And what they said is if you feel like you need to refresh, go outside. And I'm thinking, well, that's kind of true. I love to be outside, but you can get a lot of things outside. You can get the water, you can get the air, you can get all four of them. So that kind of tells me that getting back into nature and looking for the beauty that's naturally around us kind of is a grounding tool that will help you to move forward. So as you're in the power of pursuit and as you're changing your dreams, sometimes if you feel like you're bottlenecked, get outside and clear the air and reach for those dreams. And let's all be running like mad, catching every ball there is, tossing them around, seeing what we can create. And let's all slide in and get that high five as God says, well done. Thank you guys again. Have a beautiful night and we'll talk soon.